Hello. Welcome back. In part 2, we are going to learn some really powerful concepts. I am looking forward to explaining them to you. Message box and if structure. Message box. Message boxes display messages and allow the user to interact with a program. Here is a program with a message box. Let's type the code for this little program. Now let's run the program. Click on Run. When execution starts, the message box appears. Wow! The user of the program is supposed to read the message in the message box, and then click OK to indicate that he or she has finished reading. After execution, the system takes us back to the integrated development environment. Now let's work with a message box that has a yes button and a no button. In VBA, when the user clicks on yes, message box returns 6. When the user clicks on no, message box returns 7. Let's modify the program message box as follows. This line of code displays the message box and then captures the user's response and puts it in the variable result. This line of code displays the value of result in cell 33. This bit here causes the yes and no buttons to display on the message box. Let's type in the code. As we said on the previous slide, this line of code displays the message box and then captures the user's response and puts it in the variable result. This line of code displays the value of result in cell 33. Now let's run this program. The message box opens. The yes and no buttons are both visible. Let's try out the message box by clicking on yes. Remember, when the user clicks on yes, message box returns 6. Let's take a look at the worksheet. Fantastic! We can see the 6 in the cell 33. Wow! Let's run the program again, and click on No this time. The message box opens. This time, let's click on No. Remember, when the user clicks on No, message box returns 7. Let's go back to the worksheet and take a look. Wow! Amazing! Now we can see the 7 in cell 33. Our program works. Sweet! If structure. Let's modify the program. Here is the code. This code writes a message into cell 3, according to the value of result. Let's type the code. Now let's run the program. The message box opens. Let's click on the Yes button. Let's take a look at the worksheet. Cool. There is the message, in cell 33. Now let's return to the integrated development environment and run the program again. The message box opens once again. This time let's click on No. Once again let's take a look at the worksheet. Oh my! Neat! The other message is now displayed in cell 33. Our program works. Learn the if structure by heart. If, condition, then, instructions. Else if, condition, then, alternate instructions. End if. This is very natural. Programming language is modeled on ordinary human language. You can also write an if, like this. If, condition, then, instructions. Else, alternate instructions. End if. You can also write an if, with no else clause. If, condition, then, instructions. End if. Flawlessly logical. For loop. A for loop allows us to repeat similar operations over and over again with the same code. Here is the general structure of the for loop. This example will help you understand the for loop. The variable m is the counter. It goes from 1 to 5. After execution, the value of q is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 equals 15. Let's create a program that calculates q. This instruction initializes the value of q to 0. This instruction is the first line of the for loop structure. M is the counter. M goes from 1 to 5. The last line of the for loop is the word next. This instruction updates the variable q, adding m to q in each iteration of the loop. This instruction writes the final value of q to cell 61 in the worksheet. Now let's do some indenting, to make the code more readable. Now we have finished indenting. Cute. Let's run the program and then look at the worksheet. The value, 15, has been written into the cell 61 on the worksheet. The program works. Fantastic! Calculation of the sum of values. Suppose that we would like to use Excel VBA to compute the sum of the numerical values in a column on a worksheet. Let's enter 5 numbers on a worksheet, in the cells 33, 43, 53, 63, and 73. Here is a program that calculates the sum of the values in the column. This line initializes the value of the variable sum to 0. This line makes the counter n go from 0 to 4. This line adds the values from the worksheet to the variable sum, creating the sum. This line displays the final value of the variable sum in the worksheet in cell 9, 3. Let's type the program into our module. First we click on Visual Basic, to return to the integrated development environment. As we just said, this line initializes the value of the variable, sum, to 0. This line makes the counter, n, go from 0 to 4. This line adds the values from the worksheet to the variable, sum, creating the sum. This line displays the final value of sum in the worksheet, in cell 9, 3. Now let's run the program. Now that the program has executed, let's examine the worksheet. Wow! The sum of the 5 values has been calculated and is now displayed in cell 9-3. Awesome! Our program works. Combining for loop and if structure. We will now make this calculation more interesting by incorporating a rule. Rule: a worksheet value should be included in the sum, only if the neighboring cell contains a value of true. Let's enter true or false next to each value. We have merely added 2 lines of code. The line that starts with if and the line end if. Let's run the program. Now that the program has executed, let's look at the worksheet. Wow! Wow! The program has calculated the sum of the values that have a status of true, and has ignored the values that have a status of false. The result is displayed in cell 9-3. This is really cool. End of part 2. Come back and listen to part 3. See you later.